Hey, what's up? It's got my boy Samnang here. We're on our episode 3 of our. Yeah, look at that guy, dude.
Yeah,
Jesus
dude, I just did
Christ,
some
man.
push-ups before the show.
I swear, I guarantee you, your arms are bigger than my legs. I guarantee you. But uh, but yeah, we're here, episode 3, the FIFO, figure it the fuck out episode, or podcast. We're trying to figure out. We're literally trying to figure it out. That's actually the topic of this episode.
Yeah,
Is name of the episode, our why, or name of the podcast, I should say, our why, and a little bit more of like the details of like how we're actually gonna do this thing. So rather than us again sitting in a room trying to solve all this shit and then coming out like we're some like professional, thing that's already done, we're actually documenting it from day
yeah,
one.
yeah. I think that's like we were every time we discuss it and everything. So we have very similar vision and viewpoints and stuff. That's why it kind of just flowed and uh the title flow in, flow out. That's kind of like
Yeah.
what I'm thinking on my end, to kind of add my side and it's gonna be a harmonious podcast where we just kind of talk about what we're struggling with, what we're winning, and why we are here doing a podcast about personal development, about growth and business and like all the stuff that we should be talking about, right? So
Yeah.
like if you ask me what my why is every day, it changes because I think about it every day,
Hmm.
So like last night I had a 2 hour coaching call. Typically I would be pretty tired to, talking for like 2 hours. My talking span's like 60 minutes and then I need to go like take a break. But I was talking for 2 hours and it was just coaching. It's just like, it came so natural. It's like uh it's starting to become an identity, and that's like my why. And I keep thinking about my why is like, what do I want my like the goal is to pass away before your kids, right? You don't want to die before your kids. So I always think about death. I meditate on death, and people don't meditate on the death. It's like, but I meditate on it. And I was like, what do I want my kids to feel or know about me when their friends, my friends
Hmm.
and influence come to my funeral, right? That's how I want to be like. So that's what I'm doing now. And that's my why. I want them to know that their daddy was a courageous, disciplined, and uh creative and wise person, Those
No, I
are
think
like
that's
why.
so interesting, man. I think that's such a great exercise too, that we don't think about because, so many people get like, wrapped up with death or fear it, the whole nine. But who's showing up at your funeral and what are they saying? Like what's the conversations about, right? And a quick side story on that one. Lost my dad about 5 years ago.
Man, man, sorry.
And it's life, man. Lost him to
Yeah.
cancer too young. But I was at his funeral, and there was like probably about 100-ish or so folks that showed up to it. And you never like when you think about like your parents and them dying, like you never really know how you're gonna react. You just assume like you're gonna be sobbing, crying, upset. I didn't shed a single tear at my dad's funeral. It was the
Right.
weirdest thing. I cried at his burial, but I didn't cry during the funeral. Instead, I was really truly in awe of his audience, of people that came from all over the country to pay their respects to my father. Um, Generals,
Yeah.
business executives, business owners. I mean, all these folks that have done, like when I thought about that room of what that room alone has done for this world and the impact that they've made, it
Wow.
humbled me like you wouldn't believe, knowing that my father had an impact on them, right?
Yeah.
So really changed a lot for me and my why, right? And me thinking about, and then obviously the kids and thinking about my funeral and like, what about when my kids are standing there? And it's a fascinating thing to meditate on, think about.
Yeah.
So I really like that. But yeah, sorry, but you get sparked
No,
a
no, I think
thought
that's
there.
good. I mean, funerals are a time to kind of meditate and reflect. And like you sharing that about your grandpa, the biggest one influence that I had was my mother's funeral. She passed away
I was my
early.
dad, not my grandpa,
Oh,
but yeah.
your dad, yeah. So Yeah, I'm
But yeah,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean
But
to.
yeah, your parents, it's like it's the biggest impact, but you don't know how to feel. Like when my mom passed away, she was like 22. It's like I didn't know how to feel, what to feel. But the sphere influence that came and talked about her and told me how like she made them felt, like how she felt about her, them, and that gave like my family peace. Cause she left us early too, lung cancer and
Mhm.
everything. But we were like, but at the end of it, we were like, wow, for me, it just gave me peace. It gave me so much like that one funeral had so much like life-changing thoughts for me where like I do need to start thinking about my death, right?
Yeah.
It's very
No,
stoic, right?
very still. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's like kind of the perfect segue for, I mean, a little coming in, some might be dark for some, but I think it's also,
Oh yeah.
a good, a good segue into like, what are we doing here? And I think that's something, again, we started this just as an idea and an ad hoc thing. Let's try it. And I know I'm vibing off of it. I think you're vibing off of it. Yesterday you said you had a long day and a big day. I also did too. I was working till like 8:20 last night. I started at 6 in the morning, so big day and got a couple deals won. So yeah, man, I just feel like it's good positive energy all around. So when I
It's good
think
woo
about,
woo.
yeah, go woo woo, man. So when I think about this, right, like I think about this is what I always like to do, even with like my clients when we talk about digital strategies and things like that, right? And it's very synonymous to what you're talking about when it comes to, thinking about your why. So I like to always say, all right, you have the big easy button, right? And you can push that right now. This is your only opportunity when you can push it, and you instantly get your dream outcome from all of these endeavors,
Uh-huh.
specifically focusing on this one. So when I think about this podcast, right, and what we're trying, like, what would be the dream outcome of this podcast?
Yeah. Like to
And
hear.
why are we doing it? And I think, it goes deeper than, at least for me, one of the reasons why I'm doing it. I think we both have maybe this conviction, but I feel very compelled to share information at scale to the world. I just
Yeah.
feel like I have a calling to it. I feel like I have an important message to deliver back to the world. Whether people want to hear it or not is another story. But I feel like in my core that I really want to share my message of success and my vision of how things can be done, because I just feel like, not that it's egotistical that I know, something that somebody else doesn't. I just know that I have that natural tendency to coach, and I just have this vision that if the more that I do in this space and can bring others up, the more positive in all of our lives will be, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so there's a really great quote one of my buddies told me a long time ago, that this is back in like when I was in my YouTube days. So my family had a YouTube channel that we were
Yeah.
doing, right?
I gotta
And
look it up.
what's that?
I gotta look at it. I left some of my old YouTube videos up too, so people I can reflect back and show people, look, I started like 8 years too. Like you gotta leave
Nice.
the old ones up.
Yep. So he brought up this quote, man. I love it. And he's like, listen, we're all volcanoes and we all have the capability to build islands. I'm in the business of building continents, which means that you have to move volcanoes close to one another so you can build a continent.
Nice.
And I
Love it.
really like that quote, right? It stuck with me ever
You
since
said
then.
it. You wrote it
Bryce
on the community board, right? I saw it.
Bryce Jergy.
Bryce Jergy. Who's
So
that?
he if you look up the Jergies, they got a pretty significant following on YouTube. They were an RV family. I connected with him, oh, I don't know, way back when.
Okay.
He might even be someone that'd be interesting to bring onto the podcast at some point. But
Yeah, I got some guest ideas too. So my good
yeah.
buddy who started personal development way back in when podcasting started. So he's OG of
Mhm.
personal development, but our age.
Nice.
Yeah, he's
Nice.
got some experience.
Dude, I'd love to chat with him. So, but yeah, I think that's kind of like the foundation of the why. But then I think more about it too of, like every podcast has their kind of opening credits, right? just like any other episode. It's like, welcome to da 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 da. I have to say that we have to go all cheesy. And then they typically have like the mission statement, right? And the mission statement, and even in business, this is something that I work on with other businesses. It's one of the hardest things to do, which is to take all of your great ideas and boil it down into one sentence with maybe like 5 to 10 character or 10 words, right? 5 to 10 words, and have that encapsulate everything that is your business. It's like extremely hard to do for a lot of businesses. It's still hard to do for me within my business, even though I coach it. It's just really difficult. But that mission statement, we are here doing this to accomplish this, is so, I think, important for not just the audience's perspective and them to understand why they're there, but also for us is to keep that kind of guiding light as we continue to push this forward and grow. So, anyways, I'll pause with my end. I want to hear from you now,
Yeah.
Samnang, about what you think.
Yeah, so it's like a brainstorming session that we're
Right.
doing. So this is kind of ideas or whatever. So it's not like if if you like it, I guess to like you said, 10 words. Is that the exercise that we're working on?
Maybe. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. It's what
Just
I do.
something very
So,
succinct.
yeah,
I,
just
I
basically
think
get it like down to one. Like, if we could say one
okay.
sentence, what is
I
that
can tell
one
you maybe
sentence?
why, and then what I think,
Yeah.
what's on top of my head. For me, it's like why. I've been in personal development and like working out and nutrition and everything, and I always like pay attention to people's conversation, right, about nutrition, about how they see the world, and I'm always sitting back and I'm like, why they think that? Why they think that? Why they think that? And why are they so like? It feels like the more you go into like personal development, it seems like as you kind of like step away from the matrix and trying to change your worldview, the original worldview seems kind of crazy. I don't know how to say it, but like the idea of like sitting around for 4 hours watching something with beer is like, to me, is like kind of crazy now. So mine is, I guess, trying to bring attention or awareness or like consciousness, maybe something about like raising vibrations, because
Mm,
that's like it's like a buzzword, I guess. But I don't think people really know what it is and how to do it and everything. And it's very challenging, right? I've I've somewhat how to learn how to raise my vibrations. That's why like I'm so productive. You're productive, right? You're high vibrational person. You just, that's on the scale of like when we talk about like toxic people and when we talk about like elevated people, high vibrational people don't really get bothered by toxicity. So
mm.
maybe something with like helping raise the collective vibrations,
I like
right?
that.
Like people talk about the collective unconscious, the philosophers and the spiritual people about the collective or the unconscious, but of like maybe raise the collective vibrations as a
I
group or
like
something,
that.
as a community.
Okay. Okay. I like that, man. So there's part of the result, right? So that's actually excellent. So again, here's your easy button. All right. You hit it. All of a sudden, fast forward 2 years, we're still doing this. We're enjoying it.
Uh-huh.
You got a big studio. I'm in the studio,
Yeah.
professional, done. We got a team helping it out, right? Call it, we'll go something modest. Say, let's say 25,000 active listeners. Okay. 2 years. What would we, so if we're trying to collectively raise the vibration, right? That would be the result. So, but I guess the question is what kind of actionable things are we giving back to that audience so that the vibration raises, so the frequency of the vibrations raise, right?
Yeah.
So because I feel like the raising the vibrations is the so that part of the statement, but I feel like we still just need the next part, which is like we're here doing this
Yeah.
so that, right? And is there something more that we could give to that? And one thing that I think of is that I've seen like you've posted a lot of content on, and I think I share it too, is like actionable insights, right? Like
Yeah.
things that you can actually like, and I think that that would be so important too, right? Like that we can share information from what you're doing in your world, I'm doing in my world, and as we bring on other people into this kind of thing that we're doing, I would love it to where every episode a listener could get an actionable nugget that they could apply literally right then and there. Like it's not some big audacious task where it's like, you know, for instance, on your end, it could be like a big audacious task would be like grow your bicep to 30 inches around. And mine would be like grow your business to, a $500,000, right? Like, yeah, okay, great. But it's like, what can I do right now today that's going to lead me towards that? So I don't know, actionable insights to raise vibrations, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, a podcast, like coaching, like this is my identity. So it's like anything that like I'm putting out content and everything is my like I already thought it. You don't know how long I
Right.
meditated. They came to here. It's like I already have it there, So I just wanna I have that compelling vision like you as well too. It's like a pull. Like I wouldn't be like who I am if I didn't post something that I felt today. It's like us doing it, actually being in the grind and just talking about it and stuff. That's the actionable item. And then we're working together and we're coaching each other. I'm learning a lot from Danny about marketing and segmentation, like just building brands and that like for me it's growth. You're seeing us both grow in real time.
X.
Danny's growing too. He's gonna start doing some push-ups before the show soon, and his
I
his
got
arms
to,
his veins
dude.
are gonna be popping.
Hey, look, you'll know that it's working when I show up with a sleeveless shirt on. I'm just like, hey, what's up? You'll be
He's gonna be
like,
sipping
see, he's doing
creatine,
it.
pre-workout. He's gonna be like, and he's gonna have body dysmorphia.
That's it, dude. I know. No, so hey, I got one then. I was thinking about what you were saying. Taking action every day to raise the vibration, or taking action today to raise the vibration.
Ooh, yeah, I like that. I mean, that's an action item. I think the mission is like it's simple. Like when I'm a coach, I don't complicate shit. I go for the hardest thing. Like when I was a CrossFit coach, I was like, what do I need to master to be a great CrossFit coach? And I chose the hardest, most technical lift, which was a snatch. It's taught in the Olympics and everything. So I learned that. I started I was hitting like 135, 135, 160, 190, and I was stuck at 190. And then I stepped away and I went to go study bodybuilding and started doing more research and everything. I started incorporating more bodybuilding because the Chinese weightlifting team were strong as shit for small guys. And then lo and behold, when I went to go PR, I hit 230. I went from like 190 to 230 because I stepped out and did some research and stuff. So I think like I do a ton of research, and for me to be able to like research and then teach it and just talk about it and stuff, for me that personal development is there's this word narcissism that like gets thrown out a lot, and I
Mm.
was like, am I narcissistic? Like, but I think people are kind of confused a lot about like personal development. It's like the stuff that you do, you teach and learn and stuff. That's the actionable item, that you need to do. Like if you learn something, you do it, and then you teach somebody, that's yours.
Yeah.
That's self-knowledge.
No, I
People
love
forget
that, man.
self-knowledge.
I think that that's spot on. Like if you even think about like how this whole thing started, right? It was like a random like we talked about in a couple episodes, like almost every episode we talk about it, because I still find it like I just love that, man. But like it was just like, hey, maybe we could do this thing and collaborate. And then it was like, cool, let's meet next week and talk about it.
It was like,
And
sure,
you're
sure,
like,
sure, sure. Yeah,
yeah,
let's hang out.
and then
This is like how grown-ups hang out now.
you're like, yeah, why don't we just start it? And I'm like, done,
Yeah. I
right?
tell you,
So
like this is how grown-ups hang out. They hang out on Zoom now. Because I was like,
right.
back in the day, we used to go to people's houses and go to like McDonald's and stuff. It's like, no, we'll hang out on Zoom.
Yeah, right. It's funny, man.
Might as well be productive at the same time while we're hanging out on Zoom.
Right, right, exactly, dude. So no, I
Yeah.
love it. So we'll think about it. Maybe this is something you can meditate on, but something to the flavor. I put it down in our notes.
Collectively.
Taking action today to raise the vibrations. Let's I think that could be a good core because that is the ethos of how this started. It was just taking the action. And
Yeah.
collectively, I already feel like the raising of the vibrations. I just joined your community. Today's a big day for you. Let's chat about that real quick. It's February 1st.
Yeah, dude. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. You see my goosebumps?
Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
no. Today is open enrollment day. I got so what Peak Performance Academy is this the community that I'm hosting on School. School is a new platform. Apparently it's gonna be like the next Facebook. So building out communities because Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn and stuff, everybody has like different communities. I have different communities. I have an Instagram following, I have a LinkedIn following, I have a Facebook following, I have a small YouTube following and stuff. So my thought process is like, how do I help everyone here? So it's migrating my network and my communities and into Peak Performance Academy. There's a small charge for it, but I put a ton of value in it. Like I tell you, it's like value, value, value. That's what I'm really focusing on. And then coaching everybody. But I'm giving out a free e-course. It's called a mental toughness e-course. It does go into building like a framework of like to build a framework and then also shift your mind into reframing how you see pain and suffering. A lot of people have a misconception that pain is bad, but it's good. It's good for growth.
I'm gonna take it one step further. Keep talking, but
Okay.
I'm pulling it up right here.
Nice.
There it is.
So that's Peak Performance Academy. So that's what it is. It's a clean interface. It's how the owner says like all the things that you need and the things that you don't need. It's not overly complicated and everything, but you got community where you'll have introductions and you could create relationships and comment on things. And when you comment on things and post things and engage in the community, your rankings go up and the
Yeah,
gamification. And as the community builds out, that my thought process is whoever's gone through all my the training courses and everything, you know, if you have yeah, click the mental toughness program right there.
mental toughness
That one
program.
right there. So that's the free e-course that I put together. So look, it aligns. It says start with why, right?
Yeah,
So and I'm honest. I'm like everything I say is repetitive. It's repetitive, 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 but it builds upon each other. The reason why it's repetitive in personal development and like bodybuilding is like you master the fundamentals, and then you could get into like the high level stuff because you got to learn all this and then you got to forget about it.
yeah, right. I
It's
know,
hard.
man.
It's hard. It's a hard. It's not. I say it's not easy. It's like, but I'm honest with you, and that's why there's support in the community and stuff where I could talk about it and everything. So anything that I teach in the program, I've done it. I could support you on it. I could support anybody on it.
And
And
you can
then
see the schedule too. I think I mean, I gotta just give you some kudos here. Some of the things that I saw out of the gates too that I really liked. I mean, I love the gamification side of it. Like, I'm already like I was like number one because I was like, you sent it over. I was like one of the first to sign up. So I was like, I saw it. I was like, oh shit! Like I did my like intro post and like bloop,
yeah,
popped up.
you see Dean
Now
Bakari's in
Christina,
there.
man, like I gotta like look at Christina up here with the gold badge. I'm down here at bronze.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
well, now
And
I got to
Dean,
go do something because I'm trying to take back that gold spot, you know?
so Dean is my buddy. He's a world class speaker, dude. He gets paid big money, like doing what we want to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Dude,
he's one of my best friends. But it's like for like the calendar and classroom and stuff, if I have guest speakers or anybody wants to jump on like do a coaching call, it's like sure thing. The calendar right now is I'm guaranteeing like I'll have 2 live coaching calls. But the thing is it's one big concept for the week, right? Monday and Wednesday are gonna be the same, but I'm gonna have 2 different crews. Of course, like if you can't make it to the 8 a.m., I'm gonna do the 6 a.m. on Wednesday, and then I'm also going to record it as well too. So it's going to be archived. So if you happen to miss those, hit it up on Saturday or Sunday when you have some free time. and then you're consuming that content, and the people in the community are consuming the same content and adding their own experience. It's just a lot of like good woo woo out there and shit.
Yeah, man. I think, there's something to be said. Like, there you go. This is the
Yeah,
level one, right? And like
yeah,
here's your leaderboards on stuff. And I think there's something to be said. And like one of the things that I really, really, really like about this, and like we talk about this a lot in the digital marketing space, right? And that's building the community, right? And that's the end game. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're running a business, doesn't matter if you're working in a business, all of us are competing for attention, right? We're actively trying to get eyeballs and ears to be pointed at us in some way, shape, or form. And those of you that might be listening to this that are like, I don't want attention, I beg to differ, you probably do. Because if you are, even if you're just trying to get a promotion in your job, you're trying to get attention. You may not want all the attention in the world, that's fine, but you are trying to get attention. If you're trying to get a new job, if you're trying to get a better mortgage rate, you're still, all of these things, right, are you actively trying to get the right attention back
yeah,
to you. And that's where like the community concept is so powerful and so strong, where you're facilitating an environment where you're bringing in all of this value with your experience and giving all these actionable things that you can do, while you create a safe space where people can talk about it and share ideas. And if it goes
yeah,
really well, I think that I mean, I'm sure you've already kind of have this in the back of your mind, but all of a sudden the members of the group are actually guiding the group, right? And
yeah.
so there's I think it's awesome what you're doing, man, and I'm super pumped and excited for you. I mean, today's launch
Pump like
day.
this. You pump like this. I mean, I get
Like
pumped all day.
this. Yeah, look
Like,
at those little pipe
oh,
cleaners,
Danny,
bro.
Danny,
Ah.
you need to work on that.
I know, man. Like I said, dude, I gotta be able to show up here and like have you be proud of what this looks like. I mean, there you go. That's the real world Danny right there. I've always been
Yeah,
the skinny
damn,
guy,
Danny.
so
Damn.
I know, bro.
Hey, I did see that photo of you where you before you stopped drinking, and I was like, damn, you came a long way.
Dude, yeah, like I'll have to find some of those pictures, man, but like it's
Came a long way.
crazy how much like I even my wife was like, I never thought you were fat. And then until like you quit, and then I looked at your face. I was like a balloon.
But if you're an athlete, right? Like that, like you look like an athlete, right? Like if I saw you skateboarding and snowboarding, I was like, that dude does it regularly and stuff. So it's like like if you want to be like an athlete, athletic and stuff, like giving up the drinking is so like I think when I first started my journey, somebody asked me that he was like, did you quit drinking? I was like, yes. He was like, do you have to quit drinking? I was like, if you want to take anything serious,
Yeah,
anything, you want to take your life serious, like that. I mean, we also too. I want to talk about hard topics. I think a lot of times we kind of steer away from hard topics like death and alcohol and friends, toxicity and depression. Like I part of my community is I did a lot of shadow work, like therapy that like people don't do. Like people do say my stuff is kind of dark at times, but it's like that is what makes you who you are, right?
100%.
Pocket full of haters, the cookie jar, integrate the shadow. Those are the first three tools that I'm teaching, and that comes from a lot of like dark psychology that people don't really understand. We kind of just stay away and are scared of, but like my whole research is like behind like neuroscience and like psychology and philosophy. It's a blend of everything like I know too. So it's unique to this community. And that's the thing, like for me, it's exciting. It's so creative for me. Somebody asked me, I was like, how do you create art? I was like, what I'm doing is art, it feels like art. It just feels like creativity and emotion and stuff. So it's like the community, the podcast, the Instagram and stuff is something that I'm always doing. But now it's like I have this level of consciousness where like I could just put it all together and I want to share. To me, it's very a compelling vision. Just as we come back on and we talk about why and everything. So it's like to me, it's like if it aligns that to that one purpose of like helping and my death and my legacy, I'm good. My decision is like You know, like we talked about it, like for somebody that takes like 2 or 3 years to switch their career, I was like this, you
Right.
know, like this is it.
Well, you say that, but I think that don't discredit the fact that all the time leading up to it to get to yourself to that point where you could, right?
Yeah.
So you say like when the decision, because I totally agree, like it, and same for me, like when the decision happens, the decision happens, and it
It
happens.
happened.
But I think that there is this buildup of this psychology that you have to work through, and you have,
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes, and that's I think which also what you're referencing, right? That shadow work, the stuff, and like you see it too in like entrepreneurship, right? Where you hear it a lot, where it's like the hard work that creates the notable results is
Yeah.
all the stuff that nobody sees, right? And it's
Yeah.
so hard to like share that and document that. And I think that that's a really good angle we could take with this too, right? To fit that same concept, raising vibrations, actionable insights. What was those things that led you to this point and then beyond, and then now what are you currently working on, right? And I
Yeah.
think I could easily talk about the same thing. So, and that's all going to be valuable stuff where if we go back to, and this will be kind of painful for you and me as we reflect back on those painful moments, and probably a little bit emotional for the both of us. But if we can go back to those moments and then think about that thing that we did, that was the kind of change, a micro change that had a macro result, that's where I think we could share a lot of value back into this world in this space. Um,
Yeah, man. I'm down to get a deep, like I could go to the deep end.
I'm down to go with you, brother. I'm down to go down
I
there,
hang
man.
out
Like
there, man. So it's
I'm an
like
open book. I mean, I look, I say it all the time. Like I don't have any skeletons in my closet, and I'm pretty vocal, and I air my shit out there. So like I'm an open book, man. So I think
yeah.
we could easily dive deep on some of that stuff.
I think
Um,
I think us being vulnerable and real like other people being vulnerable as well too. People are feeling the same way that we feel, right? The
sure.
collective unconsciousness is like I was telling you, it's like I felt your thoughts, I felt your feelings and stuff. I might not be Danny, I might not be Dean or Christina or like Braxton and stuff, but like those thoughts that's gone through your head and stuff, it's came through me. The reason why it's like now I do get attention because I'm talking about things that like I've done, and you're like, I think somebody that I was like coaching, like a college friend, was like, wow, like you're so different. I was like, I'm not really different. I'm actually the same person, but more of me, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, but it was like I was different, right? And I was like, for me trying to explain it, it's like enlightenment, but in the modern terms, right? There's a guy, Chris Williams, says modern wisdom. I was like, what's modern enlightenment? I feel enlightened. I feel enlightened to tell everybody what this vibrations and stuff is. Not
Well, I
everybody
think, and
understands
that's what I was gonna say too, dude. It's that vibration, right? When you say that feel, it literally is, and I totally subscribe to that, by the way, the vibrational frequency thing. Totally 100% subscribe to that. You put out those
it.
vibes, you build those vibes, and it's felt. It can be felt. You don't have to physically be there to feel it, but you can feel it through mediums like this and digitally. And like I think it's something real about the ether of what you create, right? And so I'm spot on with you on that. And I think that that's perfect.
I
So
mean, our job is to translate it. It's not to confuse people. I
right.
that's where like religion, like it like I don't want to trigger anyone when we talk about religion. It was like religion confuses people. I was like, no, like it should be simple. If you could teach a simple concept, like I teach my kids woo woo, woo woo, and then they're themselves, they're dancing. I was like, that's spirituality. They're being themselves. So woo woo is a simple term of like spirituality of like being yourself and stuff. But
I think
all
we
the
should
terms are the
talk
same.
about that. Maybe we even make that the next, because I'm dying to hear, because I've heard you say that term, and I've never really heard it outside of you communicating it. I mean, maybe I've heard it, elsewhere, kind of, but I've never heard someone say like I'm preaching woo-woo. So I want to put a pin on that and put a note that maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow or the next episode that we do, I want to take a deep dive in like what is woo-woo? Like how do you define that?
The woo.
And yeah, what
Just
is woo
woo.
woo, man? And then like
Woo.
and kind of feed off of that. I think that would be a good
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah.
For
I'll wrap for my
today,
listener
I
video
want to
then.
I want to wrap this episode up with one last thing. today, or actually two things. So we'll be a little bit over time, but I think it's okay for this episode. Because it's also something we have to actually talk about too, so we might as well record it. The name. So you and I threw it up on
FIFO.
the calendar of figure it the fuck out because it was like, whatever, we're just going at it. We'll figure it the fuck out. And we are like, oh, maybe we'll make that the name. Then we talked a little bit about that as far as, like the word fuck and like,
Yeah.
that could be negative, whatever. And it's hard to search for. So I get that. And then you were like, flow in, flow out. And I was like, I like that. Right. And the acronym FIFO, FIFO,
Yeah.
is also relevant in the hospitality industry, first in, first out. Which is also, I was thinking even just that accurate, like that
Or
terminology of
Fife,
person.
figure it out could
It's
be, or fig.
Well, I was gonna say just keep it at FIFO, like FIFO. We'll call it flow in, flow out. We can call it figure it the fuck out. That we'll always have
Yeah.
that back
Yeah.
to the roots, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I like the idea of FIFO because even in like the hospitality, like the first in, first out, like the idea of that, right, is first new product you get in goes in, and then you take the last product out, right, to
Yeah.
keep the fresh on the shelf. And if you think about like what we're talking about too, it's also kind of relevant, right? You're bringing in these new ideas that you're applying into your life, and you're letting go of these old legacy things that have been holding you back, right? So it is kind of similar to that too. So
Yeah.
ironically, as we've talked about, and like same,
Flowing, bro. You
yeah, flow
flowing.
in, flow out, like so. I think we keep it, man. I think we keep FIFO, and
Yeah. You're the digital marketing genius, I think we're talking about a mission statement and everything. Like I wouldn't have thought of this kind of stuff. The stuff I thought about is, I think we all have a different like a good partnership, a good coaching partnership or whatever, and everything is like people could see your blind spots and then just support, right? It's like you saw my blind spot and I let you see my blind spots because I was like, I let you guide in that space and everything. I didn't know. I thought I knew a lot about digital marketing. I was like, this guy's an expert. He does it for a living and stuff. It's like part of being like coaching and stuff is also teaching people how to like to know how to get coached. I was
yeah,
like,
no, 100%,
you
man.
know,
Like you gotta be a life learner, man. It's the same
yeah,
thing for me too. So I say we stick with the name, we run with it. And
yeah,
then the last thing that I want to talk about is we had talked originally about like what medium are we going to share this on and how are we going to share this. And again, I think this is kind of relevant too for folks that are watching this as they see us kind of creating this thing. So originally we were like, cool, we'll download the videos, you can use the content, I'll use the content, whatever. And then I was like, well, and I mentioned it to you, like maybe we treat this as its own separate thing outside of your business, outside of my business, but we can link back to it, right? So the idea would be that we would end up creating a from scratch YouTube channel where we could share the video. Eventually we could create a landing page
yeah,
and have a URL to it where we could host the actual podcast that we could then stand up a channel like into the major podcast platforms. That's fairly easy to extract the audio out and drop that in
you
there.
you're the expert on that. Like I like that idea, but for me to ever learn and do that, it's because like I built a website. I was like, I'm never building a fucking website again. I was like, for the amount of what I needed for
Yeah, I mean
the
it's
time
it's a
it
lot
took
of
and the frustrations. I was like, fuck this.
well, look, dude, I mean, I'll invest the time into that. Like I'm not worried about that. It's just more of like a coming together and like also sharing like the strategy of understanding
Yeah, the
why,
strategy. Yeah,
right? And I think that, if we create this kind of like centralized hub of what we're doing, and then we can always link back to that, then whatever this thing does on its own, which eventually it will start to generate its own kind
yeah.
of interests, then it can filter back into other lines of businesses. And one of the things that I love, and in digital marketing, it's so like this is probably the number one most missed thing in digital marketing, and especially when you get into like media spending and ad buying,
Mhm.
is bringing value back to the audience before you ever ask for them to send you value. Meaning,
Yeah,
don't just go out there and say, I'm the best, I'm selling this, I'm selling this. As a matter of fact, the best thing that you can do from a digital marketing perspective is not talk about the shit that you're selling, unless you're bringing it up in such a way that they can understand it and they can actually apply what you're doing, and you give it's like a give kind of mentality, and that's how you build the audience up around it. And
Yeah.
then eventually, after you've been giving long enough, you can ask for a take.
Yeah. That's a Gary Vaynerchuk strategy, right?
It's all of them, man. It's not just Gary. It's also Hormozy. I mean, dude, think
Oh,
about what
yeah.
he's done with. I mean, he's a great
Yeah.
example. Like I was on that like kind of groundbreaking webinar that he did that he broke the internet with. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Oh,
When it was coming out for his book, $100 Million Leads. It was his book
yeah.
release.
He was setting it up, wasn't he? Right?
Yeah. So I
That's a
was
good
on.
strategy. I learned that strategy from Lewis Howes. He was like, build a community, do this, do this. When you sell something,
Yeah, and so he did this webinar, right? And had 250,000 people join it. It literally crashed Zoom, like Zoom, what we're doing, the whole platform. And
what a
he
boss.
he at the end of it, and I was sitting there with my buddy who's also an entrepreneur. He'd be another good great guest for this. Him and I were watching it, and he's going through his value stack. He's like, "So I'm going to give you this, and this is what it costs. But today I'm going to actually give it to you for this." And like he just kind of started at this high price of like 10 G's, and then it was like 8 G's, and then it was 4 G's, and he just kind of started working his way down the ladder. And as he was working his way down the ladder, he was offering more and more value. So that's
Yeah.
the value stack in digital marketing, right? And then at the end, the punchline was, just kidding. I'm just going to give this all to you guys for fucking free. No opt-in, nothing. So literally, you can go onto his website, acquisition.com, and you can get all of his training for absolutely free. No, you don't have to plug in your email. You can get
Yeah.
his book. You don't even have to physically buy his book. You can just go to his podcast and listen for free for both of his books.
Yeah.
All of his shit's free. And his
Yeah.
whole thing is like, this is my give back to the community. His ask, what he does now, like his main ask is his acquisition.com, he's an investor, right? And he wants to
Yeah.
help buy up and grow companies. So that's his whole thing is like, documenting his way to $1 billion. So he's created this community where he's like, take this information and go grow your business. When your business gets to now $2
Yeah. Call
million
me.
in EBITDA, meaning $2,000 or $2 million in profit per year,
Yeah.
talk to me and we might invest into you and then scale you from there.
Yeah.
So
He's already offering a ton of value.
right.
Like I'm in his mastermind with school. It's like that's a ton of value. Like I watched his training and like how he talked about and they were in my head, but it's like how do we apply it at school and stuff? So it's real life like stuff that he's giving away. It's like this podcast is meant to be like real life giving away information that's like
That's
real
it.
life too, you know. When you say figure the fuck out, like the internet's just at I don't know your idea of the internet, but it's like it's at its infancy. I don't know,
Oh,
right away,
100%. Oh my
you know.
gosh. You think about like, dude, you think about like if you were to take if you were to apply what we have as far as technology is concerned in the internet space and compare to, say, steel or metals as a
Yeah,
technology, and you think about how long we have leveraged metal and used metal from the first time that we ever refined it from ore all the way to the point that now we have skyscrapers and all this other shit. I mean, we're talking decades, if not thousands of years of working with that tech, which is taking that substance and turning it into something, into a tool, right?
yeah,
When you think about the internet, truly, I mean, we've had it like it first came out in like the 70s, but we really have only had it as a society, as a global society for probably about 20 to 25 years,
yeah.
right?
We grew up with it though. Did you
I
have like
know
AOL?
we were the last generation where we had the experience of no cell phones, no internet too,
Yeah,
and cell
you
phones.
you can
So,
see, we can see both worlds, but it's like you know, it's like you have to stay on top of the cusp of things to catch the wave a little bit. I think you surf? I think was that a surfing analogy?
I
Gotta,
do surf, but yeah,
gotta kind of like be in front of it a little bit. Like if you're behind it, you miss it, right?
right.
That's why I think people just miss it, and it's like opportunities come left and right. But if you're not open to hearing, it's like wisdom. The ears of wisdom are not open until you're ready for them. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
like, they're not ready, but we're gonna make them ready.
That's it, man. So look, we accomplished a lot. This episode is a quick recap. So we got the
Yeah.
name. We'll stick with
And
FIFO, flow in, flow out. I like that. we could play off of that and to fight and to figure it the fuck out. We could also play off of that in the first in, first out. I'm sure we could come up with more things for it, but FIFO would be the core of the name. Mission statement, we got a starter on it. Daily actionable insights to elevate vibrations,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of the gist of what we're doing. So, probably trying to give it, and that's something I talked to you about before too, is like giving like some type of like daily action. Um, and then we'll create our own kind of separate brand around this thing. It'll be
Mm-hmm.
ours, but then we'll be able to link back to it and so on and so forth. So I
Yeah.
think we got the basic structure of it
Yeah.
to start, man. So that was a productive little meeting. And it's
Yeah.
just like that to those that are watching it, right? Like
It's
that's the
productive for
gist.
everyone, you know?
Right.
Like I got my thoughts out and like getting your thoughts out first thing in the morning, just like talking, like doing this for with Danny and stuff. It's like this is like the like you tackle the hardest things that you need to do in the beginning of the day is getting your thoughts out and organizing the day and stuff. And now it's like, okay, even if I don't do anything for the rest of the day, which I'm gonna go work out after.
There you go.
You good, you know? Like people think like productivity and like thing is hard. No, tackle the hardest thing in the beginning of the day, and then you're good. There's like an 80-20 rule that Tony Robbins teaches. He was just teaching on his training. He was like he's probably just chilling on the beach, sipping on like margaritas, but you're watching like old recordings of them and stuff.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure. So let's do last thing, next episode. I want to dive into woo-woo, man. I want to understand
Woo.
this woo-woo. So
Okay, we could talk about woo. I
let's
think that's a
talk
good.
let's talk about woo-woo in the next one. And yeah, I think this is a good podcast. So our outro, Samnang, Danny Marawinski here,
Yeah,
hosts of FIFO, Flow In, Flow Out.
yeah,
Today's episode, we talked about figuring it the fuck out, really, as far as what this podcast is. We got through it all. And next episode, we'll talk about woo woo. What is woo woo? And
yeah.
taking a deep dive on that. So
That was a great outro. My name is now samnangman.com.
there it is, samnangman.com.
samnangman.com. I don't have a middle name, so I was like in one of my training videos, I just thought I was like samnangman.com. Man is not my middle name. .com.
.com is now my last name.
Yeah. I officially changed my identity, samnangman.com.
There you go, man. There you go.
That's who I identify as now.
That's it, dude. You're a .com. You identify
I'm
as
a
a
.com.
.com.
That's the brand. Okay. All right,
All
brother.
right.
Love you.
All right,
I'll talk
brother.
to
Yeah,
you.
man. Good chat. We'll sync up tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
See ya.